What happens when one of the most talked about women in the world sits down for what should be a simple interview and turns it into a battlefield? In just 40 seconds, a single comment would ignite a firestorm that would see a global celebrity escorted off a talk show stage in front of a live studio audience. This is the story of the day Meghan Markle walked onto Mark Consuelos' show, and everything went catastrophically wrong. The stage was set like any other Tuesday afternoon. Mark Consuelos, the beloved television host known for his warm demeanor and genuine conversations, sat in his chair with his trademark smile. The studio audience buzzed with anticipation. Meghan Markle was scheduled to appear, and producers promised an intimate conversation about her latest charitable endeavors. But from the moment Meghan walked onto that stage, something felt different. Mark stood to greet her, extending his hand with genuine warmth. "Welcome to the show. It's wonderful to have you here." Meghan barely glanced at his outstretched hand before taking her seat, adjusting her microphone with visible irritation. "Let's just get this started, shall we?" The audience shifted uncomfortably. Mark, ever the professional, maintained his composure and settled into his chair. "Of course. I thought we could start by talking about your work with literacy programs." "Actually," Meghan interrupted, her tone sharp, "I'd rather discuss why this chair is so uncomfortable. Did no one think to prepare proper seating for a guest of my caliber?" Mark's smile faltered for just a moment, but he recovered quickly. "I apologize if you're not comfortable. We can certainly get you a different chair if you'd like." "It's too late for that now, isn't it?" Meghan snapped. "We're already filming. This is exactly the kind of lack of preparation I've come to expect from shows like this." The audience fell silent. You could hear the camera operators shifting behind their equipment. Mark leaned forward slightly, his voice calm and measured. "I assure you, we prepared extensively for your visit. Our team has been working for weeks to make sure everything was perfect." "Perfect?" Meghan laughed, but there was no humor in it. "If this is your idea of perfect, I'd hate to see what you consider adequate." Mark took a breath, clearly choosing his words carefully. "Why don't we refocus on the reason you're here? Your literacy initiative has helped thousands of children. That seems like something worth celebrating." "You want to talk about my work?" Meghan's voice rose. "Do you have any idea how many interviews I've done? How many times I've had to sit in uncomfortable chairs and answer the same boring questions from hosts who clearly haven't done their research?" "I've read all the materials your team sent over," Mark replied, his patience showing signs of strain, but his voice still professional. "I've prepared thoughtful questions about your foundation, your goals, and the impact you're trying to make." Meghan waved her hand dismissively. "Materials. Questions. Do you think I came here to be interrogated? I came here as a favor because my publicist insisted this would be good exposure." The audience gasped audibly. Mark's jaw tightened, but he maintained his composure. "I appreciate you taking the time to be here. Perhaps we should take a quick break and regroup." "A break?" Meghan's voice dripped with condescension. "We've barely started. What kind of host are you that you need a break 5 minutes into an interview?" Mark sat up straighter, his voice firm but still respectful. "The kind of host who wants to have a productive conversation, but that requires both parties to engage in good faith." "Good faith?" Meghan scoffed. "You want to lecture me about good faith? Do you know who I am? Do you know what I've been through? I don't need some daytime television host telling me about good faith." "I'm not trying to lecture you," Mark said, his voice steady despite the mounting tension. "I'm trying to have a conversation. That's what we do on this show. Here. We talk to interesting people about interesting things." Meghan leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Interesting. Is that what you think this is? Because from where I'm sitting, this is amateur hour." The audience murmured. Several people looked around, uncertain whether this was part of some planned segment or genuinely spiraling out of control. Mark glanced briefly at his producer off stage, then back to Meghan. "I've been doing this show for years. We've had presidents, actors, musicians, authors, activists, everyone who sits in that chair gets the same respect and the same opportunity to share their story. Don't compare me to your other guests, Meghan shot back. I'm not one of your celebrity flavor of the week interviews. My platform, my influence, it's on a completely different level. Mark's expression hardened. Every guest on this show matters. Every story deserves to be heard. That includes yours, which is why I invited you here. You invited me? Meghan laughed again, that same hollow sound. My team agreed to fit you into my schedule. There's a difference. Then why are you here? Mark asked, his patience clearly wearing thin. If this is beneath you, if I'm beneath you, why did you agree to come? Meghan's eyes flashed. Excuse me? Are you seriously asking me that? I'm asking because I'm genuinely confused, Mark replied. You've been hostile since you walked out here. You've insulted the show, the preparation, the furniture, and me personally. So, yes, I'm asking why you're here if you hold everything in such contempt. I don't have to explain myself to you, Meghan snapped. You should feel grateful that someone of my stature even considered appearing on your little afternoon program. The audience was completely silent now. Every eye was locked on the stage. Mark took a slow breath, his hands folded calmly in his lap. I am grateful when any guest takes time out of their day to be here, but gratitude doesn't mean accepting disrespect. Not for me, not for my team, and not for this audience who came here excited to hear what you have to say. Oh, please, Meghan rolled her eyes. Don't pretend this is about the audience. This is about your ego. You can't handle that I'm not fawning over you like everyone else probably does. Mark's voice dropped lower, more serious. This has nothing to do with my ego. This has to do with basic human decency. Something you seem to have forgotten. How dare you? Meghan stood up abruptly, her microphone screeching with feedback. How dare you speak to me that way? Do you know what I could do to your career with one phone call? Mark remained seated, looking up at her with an expression that mixed disappointment and resolve. Is that a threat? It's a fact, Meghan hissed. I have connections you couldn't dream of. I could make sure you never work in this industry again. The audience gasped again, louder this time. Mark stood slowly, drawing himself to his full height. I've built my career on honesty and respect. If standing up for those values means facing consequences, then so be it. But I will not sit here and be threatened on my own show. Your show? Meghan's voice reached a new pitch. This pathetic little show? You think this matters? You think you matter? I think treating people with respect matters, Mark said quietly, but his voice carried across the entire studio. I think remembering where you come from matters. I think gratitude and humility matter. Meghan's face flushed red. Don't you dare talk to me about humility. You have no idea what I've sacrificed, what I've endured. You're right, Mark nodded. I don't know your full story. No one does, except you. But that doesn't give you the right to treat other people like they're beneath you. I never said anyone was beneath me, Meghan protested, though her tone suggested otherwise. You didn't have to say it, Mark replied. Your actions made it clear from the moment you walked out here. Meghan grabbed her microphone and ripped it off, the pack clattering to the floor. I don't need this. I don't need you. And I certainly don't need this audience of nobodies watching me like I'm some circus act. The audience erupted in shocked whispers. Mark's expression shifted from disappointment to something closer to sadness. Those nobodies, as you call them, are real people. They have jobs and families and dreams, just like you do. They came here hoping to be inspired by you. Inspired? Meghan laughed bitterly. They came here to gawk, to judge, to tear me down like everyone always does. No one here is trying to tear you down, Mark said gently. But you're doing a pretty good job of that yourself. Meghan's eyes blazed. That's it. I'm done. This interview is over. You can't just end the interview, Mark said. We have a commitment. Watch me. Meghan turned toward the exit. Mark's voice followed her. Walking away doesn't solve anything. It just proves that you can't handle a real conversation. Meghan spun back around. A real conversation? You call this ambush a real conversation? What ambush? Mark's voice rose slightly for the first time. I asked you about your literacy program. That's literally why you're here. Everything that happened after that was your choice. My choice? Meghan's voice shook with anger. You created this hostile environment. I created a space for dialogue, Mark countered. You brought the hostility. Meghan pointed a finger at him. You're twisting everything. This is exactly what the media always does. Twist words, create narratives, make me look like the villain. I'm not the media, Mark said firmly. I'm a talk show host trying to have a conversation with a guest who refuses to engage in good faith. The same thing you accused me of not doing earlier. Meghan's mouth opened and closed. For a moment, she seemed at a loss for words. Then her expression hardened again. I want to speak to your producer. Right now. Mark gestured to the side of the stage. She's right there. But I can tell you what she's going to say. We had an agreement. You committed to a 30-minute interview. We're 15 minutes in. Agreements can be broken, Meghan said coldly. They can, Mark agreed. But it says something about your character when you break them because things didn't go exactly the way you wanted. My character? Meghan's voice reached a crescendo. You know nothing about my character. And you sit here in your comfortable little studio with your adoring audience, and you think you understand struggle. You think you understand pressure? I never claimed to understand your specific struggles, Mark replied. But I do understand that struggle doesn't justify cruelty. Pain doesn't justify inflicting pain on others. Meghan's hands balled into fists at her sides. I have been nothing but professional. The audience actually laughed at that, a few scattered chuckles that grew into genuine laughter. Meghan's face went from red to nearly purple. Are you laughing at me? Are you actually laughing at me? Mark held up a hand to quiet the audience. Let's all take a breath here. Don't tell me to breathe, Meghan snapped. Don't tell me anything. I'm leaving, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're absolutely right, Mark said calmly. I can't make you stay. But before you go, I want you to think about something. You came here supposedly to talk about helping children learn to read. A beautiful, important cause. Instead, you spent the entire time complaining, insulting, and threatening. What message does that send? Meghan's jaw clenched. The message it sends is that I won't be disrespected. Where was the disrespect? Mark asked genuinely. Point to one thing I said that was disrespectful before you started attacking everything and everyone around you. Meghan opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She looked around, almost as if searching for support, but found only shocked faces staring back at her. This whole setup, it's designed to make me look bad. The only person making you look bad is you, Mark said quietly. And that breaks my heart because I know you've done good work. I know you have important things to say. But none of that matters if you can't treat people with basic respect. I don't have to listen to this, Meghan turned again toward the exit. You're right, you don't, Mark called after her. But maybe you should. Meghan stopped at the edge of the stage. For just a second, something flickered across her face. Doubt? Regret? But it vanished as quickly as it appeared. I'm calling my lawyer. You'll be hearing from them. For what? Mark asked, genuinely curious. Having a conversation that you didn't like? For ambushing me. For creating a hostile work environment. For intentionally making me look bad on national television. Meghan rattled off the accusations. I have cameras recording every second of this, Mark gestured around the studio. Everyone watching can see exactly what happened. You walked out here with an attitude, refused to engage, insulted everyone in sight, and then threatened me when I stood up for basic decency. That's your version, Meghan hissed. It's the truth, Mark said simply. And the truth doesn't need a version. Meghan's publicist suddenly appeared from backstage, whispering urgently in her ear. Meghan shook her head violently, pushing the publicist's hand away. "I don't care. I'm done." Mark addressed the publicist directly. "I'm sorry it ended this way. I really did want to have a meaningful conversation." The publicist looked mortified, mouthing an apology before trying again to speak with Meghan. Meghan whirled on her. "Whose side are you on? Are you seriously apologizing to him right now?" "I'm trying to salvage this situation," the publicist said quietly, but her microphone picked it up. "There's nothing to salvage," Meghan declared. "We're leaving. Now." Mark watched as Meghan stormed toward the exit, her publicist hurrying after her. Then he turned back to the audience. "I apologize that you had to witness that. This isn't how we normally do things around here." The audience burst into applause, standing and cheering. Mark raised his hands to quiet them. "Please, please. There's no need for that." But Meghan heard the applause. She stopped dead in her tracks at the exit, her back to the stage. Her shoulders rose and fell with heavy breathing. Then she spun around one final time. "You think this is over? You think you won something here?" Mark shook his head sadly. "This isn't about winning or losing. It never was." "Everything is about winning," Meghan shot back. "And I promise you, you just made a very powerful enemy." "If standing up for respect makes you my enemy, then I'll live with that," Mark replied. "But I hope someday you'll look back on this and realize that the only enemy here was your own ego." Meghan's face contorted with rage. She opened her mouth to respond, but seemed to think better of it. Instead, she turned and marched off the stage, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. The sound echoed through the silent studio until the door slammed behind her. Mark stood alone on the stage, the audience completely quiet now. So he ran a hand through his hair and let out a long breath. "Well, that was something." Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Mark managed a small smile. "I want to thank all of you for being here today. I know that wasn't what any of us expected." Someone from the audience shouted, "You were amazing!" Others joined in with agreement. Mark held up his hands again. "I appreciate that, but I take no pleasure in what just happened. I genuinely wanted to have a good conversation about important work. Sometimes, though, people aren't ready to have that conversation." He paused, looking out at the sea of faces. "The thing is, respect goes both ways. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or what you've accomplished. We all deserve to be treated with basic human dignity. And when someone refuses to offer that, well, you have to stand up. Not for yourself, but for everyone who's ever been made to feel small by someone who thinks they're bigger." The audience erupted in applause again, louder this time. Mark smiled genuinely now, acknowledging their support. "Thank you. Really. Your support means everything." As the applause died down, Mark turned to the camera. "We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll try to get back on track with our planned programming." The cameras cut and the red recording lights blinked off. Mark's shoulders sagged slightly, the weight of what just happened settling over him. His producer rushed out onto the stage, concern written across her face. They spoke in hushed tones, reviewing what had transpired. The audience remained in their seats, buzzing with excited conversation. People pulled out their phones, and texting and posting about what they'd just witnessed. Within minutes, the confrontation was spreading across social media. But none of that mattered in that moment. What mattered was that a host had stood his ground. A host had refused to be bullied or intimidated. A host had chosen integrity over celebrity, respect over ratings, and truth over convenience. In just 40 seconds, a single dismissive comment about an uncomfortable chair had sparked a chain reaction that revealed the true character of two people. One who believed their status entitled them to treat others poorly, and one who understood that true character isn't shown in how you treat those above you, but in how you treat everyone around you. The studio door never opened again. Meghan Markle was gone, leaving behind only the echo of her anger and the memory of a meltdown that would be replayed and analyzed for days to come. Mark Consuelos remained on that stage, quiet and contemplative, knowing that sometimes the hardest part of his job wasn't asking tough questions, but maintaining grace in the face of inexplicable hostility.